Okay, so the cars are weaponized. So, didn't do too much of a crazy thing for Miyazaki. We've got the buggy. We put some wheels on it, lifted it a little bit. Got this little turret here. We run that as a bazooka, I believe. And Magnum. Uh, Not really a typical Miyazaki thing, because they don't really care about putting hazards on other people. But I just kind of like the theme of it. It's a little tiny buggy with a big gun. And plus, when I get into some of the other vehicles, I'll explain what Miyazaki really likes for weaponry. But this comes apart still, so... And make sure I got this in frame. So you got the one person here hanging out the window. And we've got our driver with the Magnum. And some mismatched pipes, just so it gives it more of a post-apocalyptic feel. And just took some rubbing alcohol, knocked off the Matchbox logos, because we don't need those. And so yeah, this one here, we're just going to scruff it up a little bit, brush prime the resin bits, and just go from there on this one. Nice and simple. I was going to put a guy back here, but they didn't really fit because this post here is in the way. And these are really hard to get off, of course. I've done it before. Matter of fact, if you've got the brute strength, you can just take a pair of pliers and grab one of these things and just like work it out like teeth. And sometimes it'll leave like a hole there, and then you can drop a peg through there and use it as a turret. But it is a little bit of a pain in the butt. So, not exactly a thing you do normally. But turrets are good weapons for Miyazaki for the simple fact that you don't know which way you're going to be facing sometimes because of your sliding and spinning and your power slides, and everything was going to sometimes put you in some weird firing angles. So having a turret gives you better coverage, and usually putting it on a buggy isn't too expensive. Especially, again, if you're going to go ahead and do one or two cars that are just perked out the wazoo, it's not too bad of an idea. This one is a little more simple. This would be a good one for, like, if you're going to run a lot of cheaper vehicles with Moment of Glory and just spam it for the audience votes. Twin heavy machine guns. Pretty simple. Again, keeping the paint scheme on this one because it's a perfect Miyazaki paint scheme. You got the moon, the cherry blossoms, and just removed all the Hot Wheels stuff. Got new wheels on it. And this crew here, you can see where we've chopped up our train architecture people to make our driver. And so he's in there. He has his girlfriend in there, I guess. And so that comes back down. Leave that right there. It's a little awkward because it's got to go underneath the post. But not a big deal. And now our dog chewed 787 is better. I filled in some of the teeth marks with a little bit of epoxy putty, so it's a little smoother. That's why it's shiny on the bottom here. And put some racing slicks on it. Got a little high elf thingamajigger that looks kind of like a holding a moon, and looks like they're doing the rock on kind of thing. Rockets, Rockets are kind of the de facto weapon for Miyazaki, because since you don't have access to trucks, you don't have access to heavy trucks, you don't have access to anything with a lot of build slots. The closest you can get to serious firepower is rockets and flamethrowers. So really and truly with Miyazaki, you don't want to be in position where other people can just run you over. So I'm not too big on the flamethrower. I do have a few Miyazaki flamethrower vehicles. One is a Mazda Furai, and if you know why that's a funny thing, you know cars. But rockets are, of course, I think they're the highest damage dealing 2-slot weapon. And so like this one here is a rocket turret on a car. And got smoke droppers just to get people off your tail. That's pretty much the traditional Miyazaki. If you got 2 slots, take that. Another good one is a bike with a minigun. You can also do a bike with combat laser. You know, depending on the aesthetic of what you're looking for. Other than that, you know, if you want to focus more on perks, you can go just use basic machine guns. Roll cages is a good investment. Armor plating is a good investment because that helps with the fact that you're basically in buggies and performance cars and bikes. Matter of fact, a bike with armor plating and slippery can be really hard to hit and take out. But again, I'm a big fan of the perk slippery, so I'll probably say that a lot in this these videos. But anyway, yeah, so this one, it's a little more stuck than the other one. And you can kind of see, sometimes the crew don't want to fit in there just right. So sometimes you got to measure how your glass is going to fit. So you can kind of see, I had to cut the glass around the guy's head and then kind of file the head flat. But this is a composite of some Darkstalker, Darkstalker's a video game. But I think they're called Stalker. They're made by Dark Alliance. That's where I was getting the name from. And some Celtic, some train architecture limbs, and just Frankenstein me up some crew. And, you know. And some Civil War guy's torso too. So filled up the gaps and where I made the cuts with some super glue and baking soda, and it's ready to go. And you'll see I do a lot of test fitting on and off when I'm doing these builds, just to make sure that everything is going to fit. A lot of times when I have guys like hanging out the side of the windows and stuff, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. You gotta sometimes paint them separately because, you know, they'll break if you try to put them all together in the vehicle. And I like the silica because it's only got one post, so it just comes right together. But yeah, I also got a little alligator head. Got that from Jim Silva that was left over from some of the skulls. I love that guy's awesome. And again, this is another silica that's, again, this one can be run as a rocket or a bazooka. I like these little, this was from Switchyard Studios. And they do some really good quality stuff. And then I got a little train barrel there for a oil slick dropper. And so I switched the wheels from this car to this one, just because I didn't like the wheels that I had to put on it, and so I just kind of borrowed this one. When I get it painted up, it'll look better, I think. But again, since this one's got windows all the way around, I didn't put crew in there because I'm going to paint the windows. But, and then the same with the 787. But I have in the past put crew in everything, regardless. But I have to have crew figures, and sometimes I do get tired of cutting up people. You know, it does sound very, very sus. But anyway, so that's that. So now these two bodies are going to, like I said, the stuff that's on here is going to be just brush primed, but the rest of this is going to be spray primed, and we'll move on to painting, and we'll have to figure out what we're going to paint these as, because I've already done the orange and green original colors for my 787. So this one I think is going to go to the store. So I have to come up with a good paint scheme for it. But anyway. So, like I said, next phase, we are going to paint these and show a little bit about what I like to do with painting Miyazaki vehicles. And once that's done, I think the next sponsor is Michigan, so stay tuned. Bye-bye. Oh, and like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And, you know, visit my Etsy store, King of Cat Scraps. Now, bye-bye.